This show is made possible by the generous support of listeners just like you. Our show is about helping souls grow, prosper, and evolve, and every gift ensures that we can continue to do this. So we thank our generous supporters and also ask if you would like to be a part of supporting this important effort to bring this message of truth to the world. Please consider heading to experienceofthesoul.com/support to be a part of supporting us by being a regular patron or making a one-time gift. Blessings on the journey, dear friend.
Supportek Staffing and Center for the Healing Arts present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 150, Waiting for Clarity. And now your host, Reverend Cynthiaaliceanderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthiaaliceanderson. I'm the host and I'm here in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello everybody, this is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 150 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. We are so happy to have you with us today, and I should say happy May.
Yes.
Happy May. Welcome to May. Summer is right around the corner.
I know. This is crazy how fast the year's gone. And I want to say, Dave, I have to stop you and say, I love hearing the sound that we are on episode 150. Hello.
150
Boom.
Episodes. We're coming up on, 3 years, right? Yeah. We'll have our third anniversary in July. That's insane. 150 episodes. Do you realize what an accomplishment that is? I mean, you look at other podcasts and they usually fizzle out. If you're going to hit 150, then you're in it for the long haul, and you're very serious and good.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'd say we are as a team. And I would also say that we've been so blessed recently with a lot of guests. And you know, if you've been listening, but we went ahead and took those guests because we wanted to reach out and be of support. And friends, we see ourselves as almost a spiritual resource center. So we don't have to do it all. We want to make you aware of other spiritual teachers and, people doing really good work, because we want to support you in the various areas of your life. So yes, it's big for us to do 150, and we hope you've enjoyed. I just wanted to mention, that we hope you've enjoyed so many guests that we've had on recently. We've been real blessed by that.
Yeah, and it was really good having Sister Jenna on with us a couple of weeks ago. Speaking of guests, and just really, really excited. And MC Yogi before that. It's really, I don't know, I'm just feeling the energy, it.
I'm telling you, yes, it's really, really good. And we have other amazing guests that are slated to come on real soon. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your support of that. And just know how much we appreciate you listening and sharing the message. Over 80 countries, like right around 150,000 downloads is really something to be proud of. And so we're giving you shout outs all around the world. Thank you so much for listening and for sharing. And, one of the things I'd love to hear a little bit more from some of our listeners that are around the world. Are you Americans living in a foreign country? Are you, citizens of that country? And what, how did you find us? What's supporting you about what we're doing? Because we want to be in relationship with you. We don't want to just, okay, here's this show and support us. No, we're in a dynamic relationship with each other. And I so support you in that. And we want to know where you are and how we can support you even more on the journey. So thank you for all the support. And show 150, that's 150. Of course, if you're from Georgia, you say 150, but that's a whole nother thing.
150.
Were you going to say anything about the sound today, Dave, that people might hear in the background?
Oh, yes. Thank you. If you notice, if it sounds like there's a bird in the room, it's actually, there are birds apparently losing their mind, maybe right outside of Cynthia Alice's house there at her place. They're not actually floating around in 818 Studios.
Right.
But, at first, because I noticed it a few episodes ago, and at first I was like, do I edit that out? Because, it's like birds and it's noise and it shouldn't be there. No. But I'm leaving them.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's so funny. I live in the city, friends. It's not like I live out in the middle of nowhere. But what I've really discovered is you can make your home a safe place and a sanctuary for bird life with a few simple things. And one of the things I recently did is I'm really nurturing this wild habitat by providing food, by providing water that's, moving in the form of a fountain. And now I've put little branches over, and the birds really love to come take a bath. And it's quite a wildlife sanctuary between the dog, the cat, and the birds. It's always a dynamic process out here, but we get regular visits from cardinals, from hawks. And the hawks keep, and the cats keep the yard picked up from any, from any mice.
If you hear birds or general wildlife sounds in the background,
yes.
It's all part of the show, folks.
All part of the show.
What it reminded me of was our 100th episode, which now was a year ago.
I just feels like forever.
We were deep in quarantine, and I remember it was a ghost town when we went out, and we went into the park and we set up, out in the sun, and that was really fun. And so it reminds me of that. It reminds me of hearing that outside sound.
Well, and speaking of that, Dave, I have not given up on us doing another show outside. There's a couple of locations I'm looking at. I know it's a little complicated, especially in Orlando where it rains every other minute and then it's like 95 degrees. But I think we can figure it out. I've got a couple locations in mind. So maybe for future, it might be, at this point, it might be show 200. Who knows?
200, right?
But we're glad to be with you and glad to get to today's topic. Dave, share if you will, share our title for today.
Today's title is Waiting for Clarity. Waiting for Clarity.
Yes, waiting for clarity. I'm the author of this topic, and I'm finding myself wanting to even write it down this moment. I just wrote it down because we are living in an overreactive society. And I've been wanting to speak about this. We are living in an overreactive society. People are overreacting to everything. And, there's always a call to justice. There's always a call to equality. But friends, this overreacting, this blaming of others is gone too far. And I want to just bring into our consciousness that it is time for us to be spiritual grown-ups. And to be spiritual grown-ups, we are conscious, we are disciplined, we are grounded in our faith, we are courageous in our journey. But what we are not is reactive. And I want to help caution you from getting dialed into every message on the news. I was noticing the other day, I happened to be on Facebook because I'm posting more on Facebook because now my people that follow me has really grown around the world. And, for a while I was about to go off Facebook totally, but the universe and I worked it out.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
The universe and I worked it out because I realized the Dalai Lama, for goodness sakes, uses a computer made in China, and the Chinese are why he had to leave Tibet. So I think I can use Facebook. But as I was doing this, I've been able to really get kind of this overview of what consciousness on Facebook is doing. And what I see is that people are responding to things in the news with no explanation, and they're not even complete sentences. They go, well, this is not even about that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, these are people that say they live spiritual lives, that they love God and they love humanity, but these are not loving behaviors. And it is because it's coming from our lowest aspect. It's coming from the ego self. We often call this the personality. We lovingly call this the ego. And we love to demonize the ego. And I'm not meaning to demonize it, but what I'm saying is it is part of the lower nature. And that lower nature wants to hijack our spiritual process. And it's so interesting how everything, as soon as something happens now, everybody has to write an email. Everybody has to write a Facebook post. Sometimes we need to just wait a moment. We need to wait for clarity. We need to wait. We need to center into our higher self before responding. I'm going to say that again. Now, see, that's a real Southern thing, friends. I can't help it. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes we have to wait before responding because we want to make sure we're coming from our highest self. Now, today's title, Waiting for Clarity, is not about writing a good Facebook post. Waiting for clarity is about a spiritual process that I have been in for many, many years, and I'm sure you have on some level, and I want to lift that up today. So, waiting for clarity is courageous. It takes a great deal of spiritual discipline. It takes a trust in the universe. And it even requires faith in who you are. So think about that. Waiting for clarity. It is courageous. It requires spiritual discipline. It requires trust of the whole universe. And in fact, faith in who you are. So here's what I mean. We all, every day, each of us have many, many decisions that we make every day. What to wear, how to drive to work. Well, if you're going to work, how we're going to feed our children, how we're going to talk to those we love, even how we're just going to be in relationship in general, the things we purchase. All of these things would benefit from a little waiting for clarity. So just feel into that for a minute, what I'm talking about. See, this has been a spiritual discipline for me because I'm a person of action. I love to move forward. I love to do things, but I have learned and I have relearned to wait for clarity because my decision will be much better if I get a little space from it. Just a little space makes me a lot healthier and I will make better decisions. Waiting for clarity. Think about that. Think about some decisions you've made recently. Were they made with thought? Were they made with spiritual consciousness? Or did you just, bolt in and this is what we're doing? Purchases are now made in, 0.02 seconds. Order. It's a one-click world. Which, of course, is great when there's a product we need and we know we need and we can get it quickly. The problem is most of life is not lived that way. And we keep applying the principles of how we purchase to our spiritual life and to our personal lives and to our spiritual lives. And it doesn't work well that way. I have several friends that I really admire. And I often reflect on this because, my people I'm most close to, if I have a spiritual need and we're talking about them, the patience with which they have in both listening to me and the study of their own lives has helped me reflect on myself. So I think, okay, there's something I really want to do. I know immediately I have to pause and wait for some clarity. Now, I've said waiting for clarity is about courage. It's about discipline. It's about trust. It's about faith. But what do I mean? Well, if there's something, we talk a lot about this because we talked recently about, receiving guidance and moving forward. Well, this can be about like a real basic thing. Where should I shop? Where should I go? See, my life is about everything is run through my God filter. Like, okay, before I go anywhere, let's just check in with spirit to make sure this is where I'm to go and be at this time. And I love doing that because the clarity I get, sometimes I'm really guided to wait. I listen to that. I really listen to that. And so, well, in 12-step, any of you in 12-step have heard the phrase, wait for the miracle. So waiting for clarity is really about just getting clear before you take action. And sometimes the clarity comes in different ways. I often say there's 3 ways we receive guidance. There's feelers, knowers, and seers, and sometimes hearers as well. That's a little bit more unusual, but there are people with that gift of clairaudience. But mostly we have a feeling or a knowing, and I've often found it's usually not like in my time of meditation. Like we always talk about meditate. But meditation is just retraining our mind to calm and connecting with our soul so that we can take that into life. Not, okay, I'm going to sit and meditate and get 25 divine answers, although at times that can happen. Usually, as we're going through life, like we'll just have this, oh, yes. Like I held this in prayer and we're going down the road and the answer drops in. Well, that's what I mean about clarity. Like I have a friend that runs this really what I would consider successful nonprofit in that it impacts a lot of lives. And what I've noticed about his leadership is that he is always daily seeking to know more his spiritual purpose in doing this and how he can be better at what he's doing. And so he's always asking for further clarity, for further direction in his next steps. So think about that as we're talking about this topic today, waiting for clarity. Think about that, waiting for clarity. So what is it you're thinking about now? It could be a relationship. It could be about your job. It could be even about spiritual next steps or the spiritual community you're feeling guided towards. Wait for clarity before you make a move. You're going to save yourself a lot of headache, a lot of energy, and maybe even some heartache. So think about that, waiting for clarity. This is several years ago. I was seeking out a spiritual community because I was still working as a senior minister. And I find that especially when I'm in spiritual leadership, sometimes I like to go to different communities to have a wonderful spiritual experience or, to receive, to be anonymous and, be able to just receive spiritual support. So I was seeking out a couple different communities and, I wanted to just show up, but I was really guided. No, call this community. And I couldn't find a lot of information online, so I finally reached out. And the person answered the phone, hello. And I said, oh, hello. I'm really interested in your meditation group, and I'd like to find out more information. It meets on Sunday morning, was the answer. I said, oh, okay. Well, I work in a spiritual community on Sunday, and I wondered if there were any other times. No. I said, I need no more clarity that this is not a place for me. Not only is it not available when I can be, I had any number of nights available, but the energy, the way I was spoken to, the lack of hospitality and peace in the interaction was like shocking. Now, what's interesting is that it is a spiritual organization based in meditation. So what that told me is that this was not a match for me. You remember I said I wanted to just go. It was only because I couldn't find information that I didn't. And so I said, this is unusual because all of these groups, like when I lived in Phoenix and other places, I could just show up. And there were meditations at night. There were meditations on Sunday morning. So it already had my attention that maybe it was a little red flag, but I couldn't figure out what it was. So is this making sense what I'm saying, Dave? It's like, wow, we really want to pay attention to this.
Yeah, 100%. You're like, maybe, I don't know. Like, the only thing that I can kind of compare it to is, hey, maybe Shannon and I we want to have a date night, so we're going to go to this restaurant. And you're like, maybe we should call ahead first, and then come to find out they're closed, they're shut down, or they're gone. And that little intuition, usually that means that something's up, and you should probably listen to it.
Exactly. And we've been talking in past shows about really listening to your intuition, about receiving guidance and taking action and all of that. And so this is really another aspect of that. And it's a little bit more, it's like we're dialing down a little bit more in. If we're really doing our soul work every day, this just becomes habit. It's not like we have to wait till there's some huge life thing to check in with God about it. It's like our spiritual work and our spiritual walk, rather, is daily, moment by moment, situation by situation. So we want to be connecting on a regular basis and knowing that and remembering that the universe is always working on our behalf, right?
Yeah. And if there's nothing too big for the universe to be able to help, then there's nothing too small.
That's right. Well,
as far as I'm concerned,
Yes. Well, the great Ernest Holmes said, there's nothing big and nothing small to the divine. It just all is, right? And so as we, continue to listen to that voice of the intuition and wait for clarity, what happens is it strengthens, that aspect of our walk with God. It's like that muscle gets strengthened of, okay, I am trusting God. I am trusting the universe. I'm trusting my intuition to receive the messages that I know are appropriate for me, that I know are going to, work on my behalf. So I'm going to pay attention. So this is what we're going to talk about even more today, friends. Our topic today is waiting for clarity, and we'll be right back after a few messages.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partners, Supportek Staffing. Supportek Staffing is an innovative staffing agency built on the principle of caring about employers and employees as they navigate these new workforce and workplace challenges. If you're an employer, they want to be your human resource partner and help with the changes needed during the pandemic. If you're a candidate, they want to become your lifelong career agent to help you grow into your fullest potential. Supportek prioritizes support over volume, integrity over profits, and will treat your business and your career as if it was their own. You can learn more at supportekstaffing.com. That's SUPPORTEK staffing.com. And finally, we want to give a special word of thanks to Center for the Healing Arts. Center for the Healing Arts is one of the first dedicated group practices devoted to challenging, supportive, and nurturing therapy. Their dedicated therapists have a wide range of expertise, including relationship and couples therapy, individual therapy, addictions, neurofeedback, play therapy for children, adolescents, and families, and therapy for blended family issues. They also regularly offer day-long intensive workshops for relationships, addiction recovery, adult children of alcoholics, and healing trauma in the LGBTQ+ community. For more information, head over to centerforthehealingarts.com or call 407-657-8555, extension 1. We now return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthiaaliceanderson.
Welcome back. Again, we're always so grateful for all of our sponsors. And again, episode 150, that's 150. It's like, boom, this is so awesome.
That's mind blown.
I know. I was in a spiritual community recently. I've been doing a lot of speaking at, different churches nearly every week, which has been a lot of fun for me. And when I was speaking recently, I was speaking about how, when we first started talking about a podcast, I never had even heard one. So, and I did a lot of research and I started listening, and I've learned as I've gone, and I'm always grateful for the feedback to make it better. So thank you, friends, for your support of what it is we're doing. And talk about waiting for clarity. that was very much a part of our beginnings as a podcast. And think about it, friends, before you start anything, why would you want to start without clarity? Think about that.
Well, yeah, it's like setting out to build a house with just a pile of wood and bricks without a plan, without a structure, without permits and everything. Yeah, you wouldn't do that. So,
and how often do we do that about our lives? And, in so many of my courses, it's just become that I've begun teaching a lot over the last couple of years about, goal setting and accomplishing goals. And it's just because I've done it in my own life. And people started saying to me, well, how are you doing it? I go, well, this is my process, And so I want to talk a little bit about this second half about that, because, if you're not serious about the journey, probably the shows as we've been doing, because they're a little bit deeper for people who are, daily checking in with spirit about their journey. If you're not doing that, most of what I say won't even make sense, because I'm working every day, these goals, these visions, these dreams for my life. And just in the last couple of weeks, I've noticed that things that were in my practice, all of a sudden, I noticed I hadn't written down. And then other things that like a month ago, I was like really questioning, it was like Spirit said, no, those are to go away. And so those are off the list. And what I'm noticing is I'm waiting for clarity, that I'm getting more and more focused on what is mine to do. You'll see it if you go onto my website, you'll see fewer classes, more people in each class, and more time for me to appropriately prepare, to care for the students, to appropriately write invitational emails, to help you get excited about all the work that we're doing. So this has been a time of clarity for me. And friends, one of the ways I've gotten it is this daily morning checking in with what is mine to do today, and then waiting for clarity.
And that's part of your journaling process, right? Every morning you write down, this is what I'm going to be doing today. Because I remember that from one of your classes.
Yes.
If you have like 3 journals, right? Or 2 journals, 3 journals?
Well, you know what? That's changed also, because now, I'm glad you asked that, because now, and most everybody who's taken a class in the last couple months is aware of this, but if you're new, this might be new to you. Every morning I do my morning pages, right? Which is the I am, and then the gratitudes, and what's my task from the universe, what's my self-care for the day, and then finally, what am I affirming for myself that day? So that's the first thing I do before anything else. It's just that. So it really sets the tone spiritually for my day. And then from there, I have my accountability partner. We often joke about my goals, because they're so exhaustive and intense. They're about 4 pages, and it looks like a presentation I'd present for a corporation. And each of my main goal areas has a picture and an affirmation and a goal. And that has provided me with so much clarity. And not only do I read it every morning, I say it out loud. I have it posted in my office. Sometimes I dance it out, and I'm saying very loudly my vision, my mission, and my goals. But every single day, those are read out loud. And so, as I'm studying them first silently, and then I move to speaking them out loud, I can tell the things that are not really carrying much energy. So sometimes I just get them down on paper, and then I call this working the list. And we see, as we look at it daily, okay, what's really sustaining in its energy? Like there's this one piece I was thinking of doing on the website, and I was really guided, no, no, no. So, and then this other thing that just came up, all of a sudden I'm doing all this stuff at so many different churches. And now, this month I'll be at 2 churches at the same time. I've never done that before. And so this was nothing that was on my list as a goal, but what happened as a result of my focus, the opportunity presented itself. And so now I'm going to focus even more. And so that's what I mean, that the daily time each morning, and it doesn't take a lot of time, but this is a time of waiting for clarity. It's a time of both listening, of dialing into spirit, what's mine to do today. And then as the days go forward, if I'm checking in every day, what's mine to do today, and I'm looking at my overall list, and I go, something's out of alignment. And so that clarity just comes. And for me, it just kind of drops in like, no. And I've learned over the years to really trust that inner voice. Every now and then, still, I'll have a little struggle with it. Like, are you sure? Because I like that idea. And then it's like, no, take it off. Because it's going to move you in a direction you don't need, or it's wasted energy, or, just a clarity about it comes forward. So we want you, friends, to be able to be clear as you take next steps for your path and for your journey. And I feel like, friends, sometimes I want to cry when I tell you this. It's like, if you could see your magnificence and brilliance, you would know what's yours to do. I don't want to be your guru. I want to be your support and your teacher. I want to shine the light maybe a certain way for you, but you know your answers. See the word guru. See, it's G-U-R-U. It's how it's spelled. Guru. You are your own guru. Now, I will say, don't forget to wait for clarity. And you go, oh, yeah, that's right. I need to wait for clarity. I'm going to do that. But it's you that gets it. I don't get clarity for you. You do it. And I feel like so often when we, look to the headlines, or even we look to spiritual leaders, people want to tell us what to do. And I'm saying, you go within and do your own spiritual work, and you receive your own clarity, because you're here to live your journey, not somebody else's, your journey. And the clarity you receive is available only to you for your life. Think about that. Friends, if you could know how loved you were by the universe, you would not doubt this for a minute. I realized recently there was something I was doing, and it had a little bit of a desperate energy to it. And it was way old energy that was coming through from, I don't know, years and years and years ago. Some little tiny belief that there wasn't enough. And it was running a part of my life. I really didn't know it. And as soon as I saw it, I went, oh. And I found it by waiting for clarity on what was mine to do and to teach and to offer in terms of my services, around the country. What is mine to do? And it was like, not this.
That's so funny. That's a realization that I've been coming to professionally, and really scaling back my percussion performance as my composition stuff has taken over. Yes. And recently did like a video vlog about it. But
oh, really? I didn't see that one.
Yeah. And talked about how a little scary that was. Especially when something that was so wrapped up into my identity of being a drummer,
Oh, for sure.
And really scaling it back and only serving and only playing drums for the things and the people I love, and the things that give life, that are soul filling, not soul draining.
Yes.
And CCU is part of that. Playing with Shannon is absolutely part of that, and a handful of little projects here in town. But I'm no longer actively pursuing percussion engagements,
right?
Because those were pulling me away from what I'm really here to do.
Well,
which
and
was,
when you think
compose
about
and audio production. Yep.
Well, that's what I was going to say is with all you're doing with your composing and your production, and that, your composition, you're always growing there, and even in your production, even in the equipment you've had to purchase and upgrade because you're working with so many people now on so many different projects. Yeah, you can't be a master at everything, and it is hard to let go of the drummer thing. I know, because drummers are the coolest. We know that, and that is, there's power in clarity. Because then we can do what the scriptures say, which is let your yes be yes and your no be no. We want to be very clear about what's ours to do.
Yeah. And I felt like, if I take this gig that is life draining, I'm taking it for a couple of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Either one, I'm living in fear that I will not have enough, and so I should take absolutely every gig because money.
Right.
Or it's my ego and identity is all wrapped up into it. Neither of those is great. And if I take that gig, especially if I'm in those bad places or whatever, then what I'm doing is I'm standing in the way of someone else who that is their life-giving thing.
Exactly.
Whether it's a young drummer coming along, or someone whose purpose and what they're called to do is sit in a pit and play music. And
exactly.
If I'm doing that, then I'm in their way.
Exactly. Yes. And there's this lightness when you have a clarity about something. I was recently going through some things that I own, and for anybody who listens often knows I'm in this process of release pretty regularly, but somehow there was a couple of things I was really holding on to. Those things were expensive when I bought them, and it was like, well, should I really let this go? And like when I got such a strong no, and I finally, put it away and was like, okay, this is the stack to go give away. It was like there was this lightness to it. It was like, oh, okay. So there was something attached to that was unconscious. But as I heard that voice of clarity, and then followed through with the action, then I really did receive a support from the universe. And so I want to encourage you that if you are taking steps, if you are really trusting this inner voice, if you have the courage to wait for the clarity, then you're going to get support from the universe. You're going to get feedback that you made the right decision. And, there's very few decisions you need to make instantly. There are some. One is keeping your child safe, or the people you love safe. Yeah, well, that's always a no-brainer. You do that. But most decisions, you can take a little time. And there's something in our culture that says we need it now, we want it now, and especially in a work situation. But what I found, again, is when we can take the time to wait, we're going to be more clear. We have the opportunity to be more connected to spirit, and we make a decision that's best for everyone. And Dave, like you said, your clarity for yourself is going to give an opportunity to someone else. And it's really asking the question, what's mine to do?
Yeah, that's right. And since like saying I'm going to step away from those things, then I've got more work that I can handle. You know? So it's been great.
Well, I've really learned the hard way that doing something for money is pretty much always a dumb idea, because it means that we're not in our joy. I mean, friends, if you are in your joy, the money comes. And what I mean is, we don't want money to be our primary motivation for something. Of course, we work and there's an exchange of money. I'm, thrilled for the people that give to the show, but, I get up every morning wanting to be on the air. So I know it's mine to do because it brings me joy,
And I know. I mean, we've got listeners and who just like they'll probably hear that and go, "Well, I've got to work. I've got to pay the bills." And, and for me, it's like, don't put your identity in something if that something is just for financial gain.
Right.
Like if you have to keep your job, that's cool. Then have something else in your life, and that's where you're really going to pour yourself in. Yeah, punch in, punch out, set that aside. But if you're pouring yourself into something for money, that's I think where you're kind of on a collision course there.
Yes. Well, yes. If money is the motivation, that's tough. Yeah, that's really tough. And again, it doesn't mean don't have financial goals. So I know you're with us on that we're saying we want to live life from the soul, from this place of clarity, this place of, connection to all that is. And as we do that, money shows up because that clarity of energy, goes out from us. It's like it sends this vibrational reality, this vibrational energy, and that then calls to us more goodness, more like energy, which is connection and love and spiritual substance. So friends, our hope for you as you go throughout, this next week is that you will honor yourself and your journey enough to to wait for clarity for yourself. And remember, it's going to require you to be courageous. It's going to require some spiritual discipline on your part because you're going to do it every day. It's going to and you are going to do it every day. Did you hear? There's no option in that. And it's going to mean trusting the universe, that the universe really does love you. And then it will mean you having faith in who you are and who God is in you. So this is our prayer for you, friend, always, that you know your goodness, that you know your sacredness and your wholeness, and that your desire is to live life from this holy and sacred place. So we bless you on the journey, dear friend. As always, we thank you so much for being a part of these 150 shows, and we can't wait to bring you more on the journey. All right, blessings on the journey, dear friend, and we'll see you next week.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey presented by Supportek Staffing and Center for the Healing Arts. This channel is also made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2021 Cynthia_Aliceanderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.